supporting myself. I have a shameless plug. I keep up with the things that I do, so I put it on. I curate all of the information. So I see, I think, 4 people from our cohort, and it was a distinct pleasure to participate last year. So I'm sad to know that they don't have the grant again, but I'm confident that we will conquer the world with our computer science. So we all have to stick together, and you being here is a part of making that happen. And I feel like I'm doing my part by being here with you all and the things that I do with my students and the people in my professional learning network. So I guess I want to give a little bit background about myself, because then you'll kind of see where I'm coming from, I guess, and why I'm actually here. I'm been teaching. I was in vocational, I want to be a teacher in high school, and I knew that I wanted to be a teacher then, so I went straight to college, became a teacher. So I've been teaching for a really long time. So after being in the classroom, and I think Gina said it well, if I teach this again, I'm not really sure the safety of everyone involved. I was teaching. I'm certified birth through second grade here, and I'm from Texas, so we have lifetime. But they kept wanting me to move up a grade, and I was like, no, I don't want to be in a testing grade. But I decided I really want to do something different. So I retired from recess duty. I retired from some of those things, from field trips with students into the traditional sense. And I wanted to do more computer science and STEM related classes. So that brings me to where I am now. The building that I teach in is AC Prep. It's a preparatory school within the Kansas City School District. We accept applications only, so you're there because your mama made you, or you had a GPA good enough, and so we're expecting high things out of you and expecting great things. So I can kind of hold that over my students' head whenever I'm asking them to do stuff in my classroom. Like, I know you can do this because this is a part of what we do in this school. So they never can expect that the expectations won't be too high and that I'm going to require them to give 110%. My building is K through 8. The students that go through my program start computer science as kindergartners. So as soon as I know that you can follow instructions or read a few pictures, I start with the pre-reader program on code.org. And sidebar of also my class includes our special ed students. So I have my sped students come with their grade level, but I just differentiate and I give them what they need. If they're readers, then they get the higher levels of what code.org has available. If they're not readers, then I do the pre-reader with them. And so they're able to do, just like they would go to PE with their grade level, they're able to come to computer science class, and the teachers really love that. And I appreciate having the differentiation because they're just as excited as my regular ed students when their programs work. My middle schoolers. So my middle schoolers come to me. The fortunate thing about my building, they're required to take my class. So that's beautiful. I don't have to recruit, unlike Gina. So big ups to you, Gina, for all of your efforts. But all of my students have to come to my class. And so 6th grade, I get them. And I have a blended class that come as an elective, and that's my code.org class. So I can have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So I've been in this building, this will be my 3rd year. My first year students, they took me for 1 semester. And then some of the students, they asked the counselor, can I go back another semester? And then so I had those set of students again this semester. So I had a student that I had 3 times. So this year in December, he finished computer science discoveries, and I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do with you? So he didn't get to take me for the spring, and he was an 8th grader. But we've already discussed with his mom, who's a teacher, that he's going to continue on with the principals. So that was a good opportunity to lay that foundation for him. A lot of times he was a good person that I could have befriend other friends who needed help with their work. So the continuum of having them in the building and having them take my class over and over led me to the Shark Tank. So if you're interested in my resources, I'm a giver and I'm a freer, so I don't do TPT. The things that I have available today, you can find it on that bit.ly there, and that'll take you to the site that I have here, so you're able to contact me, look at see the things that we have here. I'm going to show you some of the things that my students did, but I didn't attach it. We call it KERPA. You have HIPAA, you have FERPA, and they did not want me sharing the details of their projects because some of them plan on coming back and they want to get rich off of their apps. So we called it KERPA, so I will show you, but I did not share those things with you. So we're going to kind of dig in. I want to kind of give you a backstory of how I got to the Shark Tank. My feeling is I want to give kids experience of coding. I don't want them to just be methodical in what they do with their coding. I wanted them to see themselves as being able to use it for practicality. I'm new to being a middle school teacher, and so they're pretty up on it, and they want to know, why am I doing this and how is it going to help me in life? So I really had to dig in deep, as more than just we're going to follow the wonderful curriculum that code.org has, and it has lots of stuff, but I needed to beef it up, and I didn't want to just give them a cheeseburger with just meat and cheese and bread. I had stuff full of stuff, and so that led me to the Shark Tank. So within the curriculum, the first thing I want to show you is just kind of like an overview of what I did with my code.org curriculum. Okay, so now it's not playing because we turned the volume down. So it's about connections. It's all about connections. So the first thing I did was visualize my standard. Oh, there we go. Now we got music. We talk a lot. I talk to my students. I make connections with professionals. And then we celebrate our positive interactions. Capturing tweet-worthy moments for display with my students. So those are the different avenues that I went through in order to think about how I can layer in the curriculum and using it for something that could be a product that was worthy for them. If you're familiar with project-based learning, I come from that caveat of having an end product for them. I come from the caveat of providing my students with an authentic audience. So the tweet worthy is, I always tell them that the things that they do are important. Everything that you do is important, and every day that you're doing something in here, it is tweet worthy. So they know, they roll their eyes because I'm having my cell phone or my iPad out, taking pictures of them and posting it on my Twitter page, I'm also the school Twitter person, so they just know, they don't even worry about their hair anymore. They just know I'm going to be taking pictures and categorizing all of their things that they're doing. And I tell them that because what they're doing is important. I tell them that because what they do is a privilege, and that not every school has computer science. Not every kid, they don't get exposed to this. So they do they're starting to get that because they've been with me a while, and they know that that's just, kind of what it is. I try to make connections with what they're doing by finding adults in different professions. So one year, luckily, when you know people, it works. My brother was our first volunteer. He is a cybersecurity individual, god or person with lots of brain power, and he worked for the Pentagon. And so he makes sure that you have access to your computer, make sure that you're following, I don't know, all that. That's beyond my pay grade, but he works there. So I had him Skype into our classroom, and they asked him what he did for a living. They wanted to know how much he made, and all the different things. Did he get to see the president and all of that kind of stuff? But it was an opportunity for them to see that what you do for coding and the computer science principles that you're learning is a real occupation. So that was my first individual. And so since then, you may want to jot this down because I didn't keep it. It's an organization that makes connections, is NEPRIS. So NetBurst now has videos that you can connect with people and you can do webinars, and my school has just adopted that. So that's where I don't have to go and beg people now to be in my videos. There's actually a company that did that, and how smart of them. So we do that now, and we're able to, I can find someone that does game design, and I can make an appointment and webinar with them and have it be live, and my kids can ask questions. They can see us, we can see them, and that's really awesome. Some of the things that I came across with, and now I have another connection today with someone at SBU that I will be having them talk about what you do in college. So everywhere you go, and if I'm at church, oh, my dad does this. Oh, yeah, why didn't you have your dad come to my school? Oh, he doesn't have to come in person. We could do it online. So I really dig deep in trying to make it be real for them and make it be logical, and what they're doing every day matters. So that's how I make the connections. A lot of connections that I make may be people that I don't ever get to see in person because I know them through Twitter. So this is my Twitter plug, my commercial right now. If you're not on Twitter, please connect. People share stuff with you. It's for free. You can find other teachers that are doing what you're doing, and ask questions, because Gina and I are not always available 24 hours, but people on Twitter are. And you can put your questions out and get answers, get information, have your students connect. And it's a really great resource to have. So that's my other commercial, is connect on Twitter and connect with me on Twitter, and so that we can stay abreast about what's new and what you're doing, and I can grow from you also. So also connect with people that within your district. When I got ready to do the Shark Tank, I had to think about what my students were wanting to propose, and who would be interested in listening, and who could give some viable feedback. So my director of our technology, I invited him, of course, and the people that are coaches, that are digital learning coaches, I invited them because they also go to some of the other classrooms that teach my class. So that way I would know, get feedback. This is what other students are doing in those buildings versus what you all are doing and how you implemented the curriculum. So that was the thought process behind getting my sharks together. And then Emily, of course, was a shoo-in, and I was like, you have to come, please come. And she graciously accepted my invitation. So I had all my sharks set, and I was ready for them. And I started out with my curriculum. So here is the graphic that they give us from code.org for our unit. Our unit is actually Unit 4, the design process. And this is the unit that I'm starting with. But I'm going to take a break of talking because I tend to talk fast, and I want to kind of get a sense of what's in the room. So please oblige. If you are in middle school, would you please stand up? Great. See, y'all ate and you got a chance to stretch your legs. Y'all was really kind. Thank you very much. And then, so the rest of everybody's high school, right? Okay, so I won't make y'all stand up. Middle school people, we stick together, we rock. So here is the curriculum that they have for the Shark Tank that I use, kind of like the connection. And the first thing that I told my students was, we talked about the big questions. And the big questions identify the needs of their users. So I told them, you have to create an app. This was the second year for some of my students that created an app. And so the first year, I just went by the curriculum. I followed it word for word. We did everything. And so I wanted them to have a consciousness this time. And I said, your app must solve a problem or make it easier for people with either students, parents, or teachers. So those were the people that they were really thinking about for their users, students, parents, or teachers. So they started to get their wheels turning, and this year the first year I had 12 students. It was just a blessing. This year I had like 20 students, and so I went from allowing the students to do it like in pairs or individually to having groups of 6. So when she said, do you have classes that you have 6 in a group? That was me. So I had to think about when we did this, how I could best manifest what I wanted them to create. So I did want them to have a product that was an app that was really going to work. And I knew that we could go through the curriculum and they could actually make an app. And I had a sixth grader this year create an app on how do you find a pet. And that was like amazing. And I'm like, girl, you are so amazing. You did such a great job as a sixth grader. So I'm looking forward to having her back this next 2 years and just seeing, where she can go with that. And so I said, okay, well, with it being so many, I don't want to have so many apps. So we're going to have teams. So I carefully selected the teams. You're going to work with this person. You're going to work with this person. And I thought I did a great job of putting people in play. And I thought of everything, but I didn't think of everything, of course, because I'm not perfect. And so I had these teams and they had to decide on their app and what it was going to be. They had to make sure that the design was going to meet the needs. They had to make sure it was efficient and they could test it and all of those things. So I really talked about the big questions like every single day. We wrote it out. They drew pictures of it. They made plans, and we went through the curriculum as it was written. And so it did provide us with a lot of great tools. So as the process was going along, I had them make a mock of what they were going to actually do. So this is where I was able to pull in some of the talents. And like we were talking about recruiting from kids that are good in art. So I said, okay, for your presentation, everybody has to talk. And they're like, oh, I don't want to talk. Well, everybody has to say something. So I gave them, if it was a group of 6, I gave them 6 note cards. So I want you to think of one thing about your app that you are going to tell someone that's different from the next person. And then we had one person that was going to be able to do the illustration. So one thing about my building is that I used to be the computer teacher, which means I taught them how to use their computer. I taught them about different apps. And then when they switched me to just being computer science, then there was no one to teach them those things. So I was like, okay, so I know you still need those skills. So one of the things is I told them that they could not do a Google slide. We do not use PowerPoint. That's not allowed in my room. But we didn't use Google Slides. So they had to come up with other uses of technology, whatever they could come up with in order to use for their presentation. So one of the things that I teach them is Canva, Canva, and they made posters using that. So they would draw, the person who was good with art drew out what theirs would look like, and they made it all pretty. And then we had their other tech expert that looked at that concept and then turned it into a Canva. So again, like I said, we have COFA, and they are not sharing their stuff with you all because they have great ideas that we're going to build on and make lots of money. They're going to help me later. So they built their thing on Canva, and that was their poster, and they had it available. In their sketches, I kept their sketches to give to our judges, so the judges can kind of see where they started out. And then they had to create a script, because when you stand in front of people, you just can't babble. You have to know exactly what you're going to say. So they also had to create a script that really outlined everything that they wanted to present. And then I let them have one person that was going to tell about their program. So I'm going to switch, and this is my Google Classroom, and it has all of the elements that we were working on. I had them do a practice video of it. I had them, why are your apps important? Connect this website to different careers and tell me why this career connects with this app or your app design. And we also had conversations of, what about this? Did you try this? So that was the other lesson was to try. So I'm going to play one of the practice presentations for you. And this is one of my best students. I love her very much, and she's very articulate and intelligent. So this is one of my home run students.
Our app is where where students get to grade their teachers, and we are solving the problem of kids thinking their teachers are not doing a good job, so kids can grade their teachers during reading time. The people that will benefit from this app are the students and the teachers.
Did not know that she was done. So that was one of our ideas that they knew because, like adults, children listen. They knew that the state was coming to rate us, and so they thought, oh, if the state can come and rate us, why can't the kids rate the teachers and the classes? And I was like, initially when they told me this, I was kind of holding on to the desk because I wasn't sure where they were going to go with grading the teachers. And I was like, how is this going to benefit the teachers? And, I know that they weren't talking about me because I'm their favorite teacher because I feed them. I have challenges where people earn big breakfasts from McDonald's. So I know they weren't talking about me. But I was like, how are you going to rate the teachers? Under what category? What is the process for all of this? So I had them really give me some details. And at first they had teachers' names. And I was like, oh, no, you can't list teachers' names. We've got to we got to be politically correct with this. So finally, we got a format that they were going to select for grading the teachers. And I was wanting to find out what kind of data do you want to collect? So we really narrowed down how they were going to rate the teachers and what was the bottom line. And a lot of the things is they wanted teachers not to give them worksheets, or they wanted to be more creative. They wanted more free choice. And I felt like some of their claims were really valid, and I really respected the fact that the team of 6 came up with these ideas on their own. So I was like, okay, as long as you're not bashing teachers, because I'm not going to be a part of any of that, then we're going to go with that. So this was one of their great ideas, was to grade teachers and have that particular thing. And they wanted to use it also for picking classes for the next year, as far as well, if you're in computer science, what do y'all do in there? Why do you want to take that class? And what kind of interactions, what kind of projects do you do? So I thought this was a really great option to have. So going back to doing the Shark Tank. So they have their concept. They already know how to do their app. They have made a mock-up of what it's going to look like, and they kind of gone through the process of understanding their user and planning out their app. So we went through all of those things. So the next thing, after we had our friend that did the presentation, the students got a chance to take all of the resources that each team had compiled, their note cards with their script, their mock-up of what their app would look like in their design, and we passed them around to each of the groups. And during that time, we used that to be a part of our feedback section. And what I used was what they gave us in code.org. They had a rubric that was already there, but I kind of tweaked it a little bit to make it kind of my own. And so this was the rubric that I made, and I added, code.org did not give points. They were just so nice, but I added point value to our rubric. So this is what the kids got, and this is what the judges received when they came to do the Shark Tank. And basically, like I said, I just adapted it from what was already there on code.org, and we talked about what each team was presenting and how did they complete the assignment, did they give enough information. So they were able to look at the feedback from each other and then go back, and we took another day to make corrections and kind of beef it up a little bit more. So this is what the judges were given also when they came to judge us on the final day. So it had their total points and all the things like that. So that's also included in my presentation. And this one for the girls is also included, so you'll be able to see that as well. I have 2 things listed, was my LinkedIn and the Twitter. So I gave the little commercial about the Twitter. One of the reasons why I have the LinkedIn is because of one of the experts that I invited is on LinkedIn a lot. And I knew that when they came to visit us, that they would post on his LinkedIn page, and that was our director of technology. So it wasn't just about the connection that I had with him. It was about that my kids he would tell a story, and he would give a narrative about my students. And like I said before, I want my students to know that people care about what they're doing, and for them to have an authentic audience. So this was the post that Joe Phillips is our director. This is the post that he put on LinkedIn, and then this also shows one of the ideas that the students had. And I'm gonna kind of give you kind of an idea right now. The girl that I said was my favorite is not just because she was a girl, but their app was kind of controversial, and kind of like at the beginning was kind of a shocker, like we're grading teachers. And then when I saw this was a group of boys, there was 5 of them, and they came up with an anti-bullying app. And I thought, anti-bullying, you guys picked something easy. And then I started to ask them why they picked it, and I started to ask them a lot of details about why they picked it. And I want to let you know that the girl and her group did a great job about having their stuff all organized. They had their script, they had their pictures, but these fellas, they were much to be desired. They were dysfunctional. They had nothing and only just a good idea. And up until the day before our Shark Tank, I was in their face. We are going to have Shark Tank, and we're going to have these important people here. And you're going to look crazy, not me. You're going to look crazy for them because you're not prepared. And they just looked at me and they're like, kind of like, oh, well, I guess we better figure something out. Because they had a great concept. And the things that they told me were, well, sometimes kids are bullied and they don't have anybody to talk to. Sometimes kids are bullied and they don't want to say things out loud to anyone because they can't trust someone. Sometimes kids are bullied and they don't know who to turn to. And so I was like, oh, so I was like, oh, this is so precious. So then I was like, playing a violin going, oh my gosh, you guys are awesome. So then I started to ask them more details, so that they could be a little bit more prepared. And also when they had Shark Tank, some of the sharks kind of reiterated the same thing. So they were like, okay, so who's going to moderate your app? And they're like, well, we are. Like, of course, we are. It's our app. We're going to moderate it. And so they went into detail talking about how they would help the students problem solve. They would help them create dialogue to go against the bully, saying, I don't want you talking to me like that, or I'm going to tell a teacher. And they really had they had problem solve. I never saw them talk about this, and maybe they just had it osmosis because I just was sure that they weren't ready. But they had really come up. They were sincere and empathetic, and they really had this all ironed out. And and I was like, but your graphic, it's so easy. But so that's what they came up with, and that really taught me as a teacher, like, to not be so judgmental and to look a little bit deeper than what's on surface level. So I had to check myself, and then I had to go back and apologize to them, and tell them that I was very, very proud of them. So they got a lot of points from the judges, because of the way that they articulated their app. And so I think that also taught me that, even though we can go through the motions, and sometimes we got that straight A student, like the girl that I mentioned, she's straight A, she does everything first time, everything's ready in advance. Can I help somebody else? And that was not what it was, the picture that I had with these kids, the boys that are listed here. And so that let me know that even though on the surface, they didn't show me all of those characteristics, they still had something of great value that was there that I just didn't bother taking a longer time to dig into. So those are my 2 things on using social media as a platform. I show my students all of the things that are posted, or I have asked them to go and follow. They know that I put the videos on YouTube, so they're like, I saw it on the weekend. My parents, we watched it. So they know where they can go access the information and where they can share it with their families. And they were really excited. Some of them, we wear uniform, and they wanted to have a non-uniform day because they wanted to dress up. But they didn't tell me till like the last minute. So that's something that I plan on adding, because they knew that professionals were coming, so they wanted to be professional. And I was like, wow. So I'm really excited, and I'm gonna put that on my calendar so that Emily knows what day she's coming back this semester, so that we can add it. And I saved all the videos that the students did before. And so what I will tell them, if I have groups, you cannot use their idea, so they'll have to come up with somebody else's idea on their own. But I'm going to continue doing the Shark Tank because overall they had a level of consciousness that I hadn't experienced with my students before, just by having them sit and do the coding and be successful in that capacity. We have standards that are speaking and doing things in public, and this was a way that I felt like I could elevate their game and have them not just use some of those soft skills that they had that was sedentary, but actually, work together, problem solve. And there was a lot of that compromising. I want to do it this way. No, I want to do it this way. I think we should do this. And, a lot of it I just stood back and watched and make sure everybody was safe. But I let them, and we did a lot of practicing, some preemptive. I did things, we made websites. Part of the curriculum, you make websites. And so we made a class website page, and they had to tell about themselves. Well, we bash kids all the time because they're on social media and they da this or that, and some of the things that they put on there is not what we want to see. We close our eyes. But a lot of times we teach them how to do it. So I had to teach them how to give criticism, how to give compliments, how to voice yourself without being rude, because we had a kid that wanted to tell about himself, and he was like, my parents have been married all of my life. In this day and age, that's very rare. And that was something that he wanted to share. And one of the kids said, we don't care anything about your parents. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we had to have a conversation about that, how he was very proud of that. And it is a unique thing for our kids to have both parents at home. So we talked about it, and we talked about how is a better way that we could say it and not be hurtful or critical. And so I do push all of that stuff in. So things that we make, we share it. I put up so-and-so's website and we talk about it, and we give constructive criticism. You should try this. I think your font's too little. I think this is too this. Oh, let me help you with so-and-so. So I have to build in that culture within my classroom so that they can kind of grow together and work together. Let me move back here. So the day of the Shark Tank, we had all of our sharks come. The kids stood up in front. They presented. The sharks graded them. The sharks asked lots of hard questions. The kids had to give relevant answers. I have a celebration. I have a student in my room that he was not welcome to our building. Let me remind you, at the beginning, I said my school is a college preparatory academy. The student was not welcome in our building because he has autistic traits, Asperger-ish, those types of things. He was undiagnosed. So you can imagine that duck is not like all the other ducks. And being an inclusive teacher, I really was championing for him. I used to teach SPED. I used to have class with a classroom, and my students all had autism diagnosis. So I was really worried about this particular assignment when it came up, and the fact that he had to be with a group. So my first day, actually my first couple of days, my comment to him was, you have to sit with your group. So that was it. Just be in their space. Sit with your group. And then after that he stayed with his group, I said, you have to give them something on the note card. You have to write something on the note card that you're going to contribute and give it to them. And he was one of the ones that he doesn't know how to give comments other than that's dumb, that's stupid, I don't like that, because that's where he is. And so the kids really got upset with him, and that was really tough. And it taught them other lessons than what the assignment was. And so I was all good with that. But when it came time for Shark Tank, I could have just taken out a big wad of tissues and cried boohoo tears. And Emily doesn't know this, but he actually talked. So one of the groups, they were standing up there and the sharks had questions and they had one microphone because I wasn't prepared for anything else. And the sharks asked a question and all the kids looked at each other. And then all of a sudden he held out his hand and asked for the mic. And I could have just fell out and I could just bury me now. And he answered the question. He was very articulate. He was very intelligent. And he said it boldly. And it was just the most amazing. That was it. I was just ready. I can retire now. So I want to, challenge you that if you have different ducks, figure out a way that you can have them quack because it's totally worth it. Not sure where I want to. So far, I have talked a whole lot because that's just kind of I do that. I want to back and let you time to kind of think about some things that you want to ask. And we're going to open up the floor for questions, and then I'll kind of sum it up at the end. Questions about my.
So when they did the presentation, did you do it in front of the school? Is that what you look like? Was it the gym?
It's in the auditorium. I did not do it in front of the whole school. They were shy about that. And I didn't tell them that in advance. So probably if I would have told them, then that would have been fine. My school has something called Harambe, and we have a pep rally every Tuesday for an hour and a half. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So asking for more time is a big deal. So that's mostly why I did it. I'm just trying to decide on how I want to do that. I probably could get away with having their peers be their other middle school peers be there or invite a class. But I would like to do that. Yes.
So I teach middle school also, and I have a class that does Shark Tank. I make them write an abbreviated business plan. Do you have your kids do that?
I don't have them do a business plan because we do school-wide business plans. And one of the things that they have to do is create a product. They have to write out their business plan in their ELA class. They have to work with their math teacher to do all the finances. So I don't do that because we already do it as a building. And we have a whole day that we open to the public, and the public comes to make purchases from the students. I bought a picture from a first grader once to hang in a hand painting. But yeah, we already do that as a building. Thanks both of you.
So Shark Tank is kind of money you're asking for investment. So in these presentations, what are you asking the Sharks for?
What I'm asking the Sharks for is their time, because that's my investment right there, because they came. I'm asking them for their honest opinion. I'm asking them I told them, be brutally honest and say what they didn't think of. What I was thinking that I maybe should have had it. It was like at the end of school year, so they didn't get a chance to go back and make the modifications. And maybe I could have it sooner so that they can make the modifications and finish it out. But my Sharks actually come, and I'm expecting them to tweet out for my kids. That's one of their obligations, and give my kids feedback. So I really didn't ask a lot. Maybe they should bring stuff. I will make sure I think of something next time. Maybe we can get some extra code.org stickers.
Yeah,
But that's a good thing. Kids like stuff.
So did the kids place, did you have a prize or a first place, second place?
I did. On my rubric at the bottom, it had where they could tally up. So they did place. And the next day when they came, I gave them all their feedback forms, and they could see what the feedback was, and they could see how many points they got. And the team that got the most points got big breakfasts from McDonald's the next day. So before they got to be late to class because they were in my room having breakfast.
So did they actually design the app, or is this just the conceptual ideas and the words, or so how far did they take this process?
So I backwards design is what I will just, make that up as we're going along. So in our curriculum, they had already done the app lab. So I was confident that they already knew how to make apps.
Okay.
And so this was an afterthought that I needed to beef up. And I'm just not comfortable with you sitting in front of the computer and me just saying, "Oh yeah, that's the best you could do." I want them to work in groups. I want them to argue, and I want it to be real world. So that was the afterthought, was that I was going to do that. So maybe I can switch it. But with the app, I wanted them to work alone. So I'm not really sure that. I had a boy that he started making the app, and I was like, "Oh, that's not part of the lesson, but I'm glad you're already making your app." So yeah, I could have them actually make it, and that was one of the things the Sharks were wondering, is that, are we going to see the app working? I will tell. One of their apps is an interface between things, events that are going on at the school that you can have an app for. Now, my personal child's school, they have that already, but our school doesn't. So I was thinking that director of technology, didn't you hear my kid's good idea? That we need that. So those are kind of the conversations, and the kids, like I said, I'll have them again. So maybe they can pick that up and go ahead and make it this next semester when school starts. So it can still continue because I'll still have them 2 more years. But that's a good question. So I don't know. Do y'all think I should have them make the app first? Yes.
I'm high school level, so it's like a little bit older, but I had also done a Shark Tank. But I kind of did a little 2 Shark Tanks, like a mini one first. They had to come up with, each kid had to come up with their app, and then they had to build a prototype. And I didn't give them long enough to finish the app by any means. Then I made them present to their Shark Tank that was a group of peers. And that's what then shows, I only took 2 apps or 3 apps, depending on how many kids I had in the class, and they developed those apps. Or I put them into groups and they had to finish the app and